Welcome to Your Funeral Music. Each week, we welcome a new guest to share the songs they want played at their funeral to help us contemplate our own mortality. If this is your first visit with us, thank you for joining. I'm Michael Vensky. What songs are on your funeral music playlist? I mean, you have one, right? Well, consider coming on the air and sharing your tunes with us. You can learn more at yourfuneralmusic.com. Our guest of the week,
Sean Mahoney.
Sean Mahoney.
Sean Mahoney.
Sean is a web developer living in Duluth, Minnesota with his wife, Jess. He's a musician who can be seen around the Twin Ports area performing with his pal Matt as the Trash Cats. He's a big fan of the Liverpool Football Club, a very bad golfer, and a dog lover. To learn more about Duluth's hardest working acoustic cat rock duo, visit the Trash Cats online at trashcatsduluth.com. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for being here. Sean M., this is your funeral music. What prompted you to explore music for the end of life?
A text asking, telling us about this program and asking if it'd be something that would be interesting to do. And I thought, it does sound interesting. It's a good, I think, thought exercise. For someone like me, I have music and playlists and things for all types of events. I have like work playlists. I've made like road trip playlists, but I've never actually thought of like, well, what is the funeral playlist? I've done wedding playlists. I've done birthday party I've done all of them. Never done funeral before though.
Was this difficult to do?
No,
It was easy.
it was easy. Yeah, I had it done, I think, for a few days before I sent it to you, just to like reflect on it in case like you look back on it and go, what was I thinking? But I think I took one out because I just couldn't like justify it anymore. It just seemed like it is a good song, but it doesn't really belong. But otherwise, it's what I sent you is something that I came up with very quickly.
So I'm going to run through your list here. I want to confirm the order and the songs are correct. Okay. Did the order I received them in, is that the order you would want them played?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep. I should have sent it to you the same as the playlist. Should be the same as the form and everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the first song is Ladies and Gentlemen, We Are Floating in Space by Spiritualized?
Yes.
All right.
Which was also the first song that I thought of.
Oh.
Which was interesting because it's not necessarily topic wise, like the name of the song sounds correct, but it is more of like a love song, and it's got like the love like very heavily in there. It's not as much of a like quote death song maybe
right.
than as the next one for sure, but it just was the first thing that popped into my head, and I don't really know why, but I think vibe wise it's perfect. It's kind of calming and chill. It's Pachelbel's Canon. It's this like constant like, you know, rolling, which I think is a thing we're gonna see is in a lot of the songs that I chose. This kind of constant rolling along.
Rolling like a fluid motion?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
like, are we rolling? Are we being pulled? Are we being pushed?
Maybe pulled. Yeah, that's because it is. I think of it as rolling because it's got that kind of swung, like rock and roll beat or whatever underneath it. But it is this very like ambient, and it's all the layers and everything. It's parts coming in and coming out. Like certain parts, all of a sudden, this layer that you weren't really paying attention to is suddenly at the forefront.
Okay, that's the songs. We have them all in order.
We do?
Right?
Yep, that is correct.
The song that...
Which is important. I'm glad that I did put some thought into that.
Well, it matters. Some people it matters too.
Yeah.
And the reasons why, or thematically, climactically, And some people don't care. I'll be dead. What do I care?
Well, it's not for me, right? I'm not going to
Exactly.
hear this.
These,
Although I have listened to this playlist a few times and it's good. I like it.
well, and that's just it. You want to hear. So the tag of the show is we're listening to the jams you won't get to hear, and the whole idea, we're talking about this to make our brains stronger and more resilient to a natural thing. We're not celebrating death. We're not rejoicing in death. We're recognizing that it exists and we can talk about it and it won't kill us. Why those songs? Like, so the first song you picked, it came right to you. What about the others? How did they find their way in?
I think we talked a little bit about Great Gig in the Sky. That is the second song that came to my mind because it is literally about death. And I almost thought it was a little too on the nose, but you had sent over a playlist of other songs people had picked. So I took a look and I was shocked to find out that it was not on there already. So I thought maybe to me it seems so obvious and why wouldn't everyone pick this song? But maybe it's not that obvious. There are actually no words to the song, so maybe people have heard it 100 times and don't really know what it is about even. Could just be the song Before Money. You know,
Oh, I know this one. I skip it. It reminds me of my wife. Yeah. Okay.
But you'd asked me earlier if, like, it was difficult. It wasn't. All these songs came, like, relatively quickly and easily to me. I started just throwing some stuff on a playlist, and you said, you know, there's usually about 9. So
Yeah.
I think I'd thrown, like, 10 or 12 songs on a playlist, looked at it, and was like, these two clearly don't, you know, this.
Yeah, you can see them.
Yeah, now that you see it all in order, these ones don't. And I think I was at 9, and then slept on it for a couple days, pulled one more off of there that didn't seem to fit. It all very quickly materialized, though. And these are all songs that I listen to very regularly as well. It's, you know, I didn't have to dig deep into my brain, I don't think, to dig any of these out. They're all in my regular rotation. They're all the forefront of my mind a lot.
While you were coming up with this list, were you emotional at all, or was it very logical?
A little of both. It's hard not to get emotional at all, I think, about it, right? To put yourself in the place where someone would be using this playlist, you know, because that it is like I definitely made this as a thing that could be played in some type of ceremony or something. And so, you know, you have to think about that a little. Like, people will be very upset if they're listening to this playlist because it's a rough day. I've been to funerals before. No one's pleased to be there. So,
I'm sorry, did you share where you envision your...
We talked about it not being a church.
Not being
is
a
about
church.
as far as I
Okay.
think. Yeah, I don't know, I guess. And even like the church thing it's not that it can't be a church. My friend Matt and I play music together, and we played a wedding a week ago today, actually. And it was at a church that was at a resort, but it's just this it's a church, but it was just this beautiful old building is really what it was. It's not like the church is just a building, right? It's not all of the
church
things
is the
that,
people.
Yeah.
In terms, like, there's this old church song where it's like, a church is not a building, a committee, or a board.
Right.
The church is the people.
It's right. So the things that I dislike about going to church has nothing to do with like what this type of service could take place at a church and not be part of a church, as we use that word to mean both the building and
but it could also just take place on a beach.
Sure.
Anywhere.
Yep.
Anywhere. You're a musician, obviously performing live and having an audience is way better. Would you want these songs performed live?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, if we can fly all these guys in.
And short of that is, like, your bandmate? Could you imagine your bandmate doing all these alone? Like, what would that be like?
That'd be rough. That would be rough. But he could do
Yeah.
it. He could do it. He'd need a good sequencer. He might need some other guys. There might have to be a few
Someone to
people.
turn the pages and wipe the tears.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
Exactly.
Of the songs that we have, which of them made you emotional?
You'll Never Walk Alone. Always.
Always.
Always. I mean, it's impossible. You'd have to be a robot to not feel something when you hear that song, I think.
I can't not sing along with it. I sing along with it. It's one of those songs that's so good to sing out. I don't know why.
Have you seen the videos of
I've seen the music video.
Have you seen? Oh, so the music videos all around Liverpool.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
all, so
The team, the fans, and
there are great live videos of the stadium where you can hear
See 'em singing.
80,000 people singing the song together. Watch that and try not to roll one tear. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable.
do you envision any of these songs as being heard in the afterlife? Like, oh, this is what I hear upon entry into the afterlife.
Yeah, I mean the first two that we talked about kind of
Yeah.
I could see Ladies and Gentlemen We're Floating in Space or the Pink Floyd number, like, definitely could be that.
Between the two of them, imagining you're in eternity, which of the two songs in eternity would you prefer to hear?
Great Gig in the Sky.
Yeah. It has so much going on and,
Yeah.
and a clear start and finish.
Yeah, no offense to Spiritualized, but if you listen to that song for an hour straight, you're gonna go, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Like, that's enough of that for now. I don't know how long it would take me to get sick of Great Gig in the Sky. It would be a very long time, though.
Are you ready to kick off our evening of songs together?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do it. We are starting our evening tonight with this title track from 1997's Ladies and Gentlemen, We Are Floating in Space from the English space rock band Spiritualized. Now, the album, this album we're about to listen to, this has been acclaimed as one of the best albums of the 1990s on various publications as Decade Endless, and it went on to be named the British Music Magazine's, that's NME's Album of the Year at the end of 1997. This is beating out other critically acclaimed albums such as Radiohead's OK Computer and The Verve's Urban Hymns. This song is totally brand new to me, Sean. This is the first time I heard it, I was kind of like, whoa, we are floating in space. This is kind of what that's like. How did I get here? How did you discover this song?
I remember that I was playing in a band probably around 2003, maybe 2004, and the bass player in that band was a big fan of Spiritualized. And, you know, when you're playing in a group and you're very respecting of your bandmates' tastes and everything, you want to kind of go out and check out some of the stuff that they're super into and see if that can inform, you know, what you're doing together as a band. And so I went and checked out this album because he was talking about it a bunch, and it is fantastic. It's one of those that I've listened to regularly ever since.
From start to finish, it's an awesome album.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
With a group name like Spiritualized, is this a religious group? Is this a contemporary Christian group?
It's not. It's I think they are thinking of that more in like a broad secular term. I think they are spiritual people, but I don't think that I don't know them personally. I could be completely wrong, but I don't think that they are specific to a religion, but I think more of just a general spiritual group of guys that...
Would you fall into that group of guys if you were all in a circle standing there together?
Probably not. I don't know that...
No, Spiritualized?
I don't know that I give it that much thought normally.
What about under these podcast scenario?
Yes,
situations?
Michael,
I
could
thought
not
you were
agree
going to say
more.
that. You know what? The AI said this last week too. It was like, you're absolutely right.
When you begin this thought exercise, I need to think about my funeral music, you're starting to think about death. The song has nothing to do with death, but it did just instantly come to my mind. So I immediately threw it on the playlist, and then upon listening to it, was like, this does kind of fit. It's got a kind of floatiness to it that I think is very appropriate, and it's got this kind of sort of repeating phrase that sort of pulls you all the way through. That
for many years, according to Wikipedia, there was controversy about that repeating phrase in the song.
Yeah. They, I believe, did not have the rights to
they didn't.
A bit.
But they still did it.
I will let you know that I did double check the version to make sure, because the first version that I heard did not have.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So this was later, I think, added in like
after
a
they had the
re-release or
rights.
something. But so I made sure that this was the version that, I don't know if we want to spoil it or wait until everyone listens to it. But it was not in, but I made sure it was in this version. Otherwise, I was going to send you a YouTube video of them playing it live that I know has it in it, that I watch somewhat frequently.
This is such a cool song. We're so lucky to get to open our show tonight with this. The song is "Ladies and Gentlemen, We Are Floating in Space" by Spiritualized. You ready to kick the show off and do this?
Absolutely.
All right. Welcome to Your Funeral Music. Welcome back to Your Funeral Music. Our guest of the week is Sean M. This next number it's a personal favorite of mine, and it comes from one of the most commercially successful rock albums of all time. It remained on the Billboard Top LPs and Tape chart for more than 14 years during the 1970s and 80s, selling more than 45 million copies worldwide. Do you know which band we're talking about? No? Okay, well, here's a hint. This next song is only one of 3 from the group that feature vocals from an outside artist. Did you know that, Sean?
I did not. I did know your next factoid, though.
Now, okay, so this is a little bit bigger hint. You did know this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so yeah.
So this bigger hint. The outside artist is a woman named Claire Torrey, who in 2004 sued this rock band for songwriting royalties on the basis that her contribution to the song we're about to hear constituted co-authorship. In 2005, an out-of-court settlement was reached in Torrey's favor, although the terms of the settlement were not disclosed. Did you hear anything about that?
I did not. The story that I've heard is that she maybe didn't even know that she was being... But she knew she was being recorded, but that it was sort of a like, we're going to give you a vague concept to sing about, and we're going to get some levels and see what and then this is what.
Well, don't give it away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was just like a session singer. She'd come in for the day and was paid like, here's $300 or whatever. Does anyone know the band we're talking about? Or the song? Well, okay, here, final hint. Almost 40 years after the album was released, Rolling Stone polled readers who voted this next song as the second greatest vocal performance of all time behind, I know, behind Bohemian Rhapsody. That's huge. I had no idea. Well, if you guessed Pink Floyd's album, The Dark Side of the Moon, you are correct, and the song that we're talking about, which features Claire Torrey, is none other than The Great Gig in the Sky. I love this song. I really do, Sean.
I do too.
Clearly, it's on your list. What do you love about it? Why did you include this song in your funeral music playlist tonight?
Well, I have often made the bold claim, and I will do so here on tape.
On community radio?
Yes, that Dark Side of the Moon is the greatest album ever recorded, and I will stand by that.
As he sits
in that chair. Sit comfortably by this. I absolutely love this record, and I have loved this record since I was a teenager and first heard it. I was floored when you sent us a playlist of other songs that people had chosen. I picked this song, I put it on mine, I go, I'm going to have to take that off because everyone has said this song, and it was not on that playlist. I could not believe it, so I absolutely had to correct that.
It's the funnest thing about this program. Everyone has like a song, at least, that they think about for their funeral in some capacity. And so the songs are as random as the people on the program.
Absolutely. I thought this one was just so obvious, and we talked a little bit earlier, and maybe it's not so obvious because there are no words to the song. So it's possible that a percentage of people who have heard this song over and over and over again don't know that it's actually like about someone traveling sort of through death and into the afterlife, because there aren't any lyrics. It's just vocalizations. But I believe that was the
direction,
the prompt that was given. Yeah. And there are these sort of defined sections, and no one, Claire Torrey may be the only one who really knows. But that's what I've heard. So that there's like sort of a wailing section at the beginning, which is supposed to be death. And then this sort of like upset section, but then this sort of acceptance and, like, I guess crossing over into whatever.
So the 5 stages of grief are all represented here.
Yeah, exactly.
And it ends with acceptance, peace and acceptance, hopefully. So that's a little bit about the song. This song you talked about, these are the stages of grief in the afterlife, or these are the stages that you go through, or the spirit or soul or energy or whatever goes through while experiencing death. Do you personally feel that?
I don't know. I've never died. So I guess we'll all find out someday.
Can I share something with you that
You can.
I think about? So you know how have you ever had a baby or an infant, a small child, someone who is young enough where they haven't lost the ability to play and make believe? And have you ever had a little kid, a child, look at you in such a way where they like see through you?
Sure.
The reason I ask is because this happens with little kids and me and to people, and I'm curious to know. So you said, I've never died before. Well, what if you have, and when you die, you are, reborn, whatever, as a child. The problem is, while you, as a child, may still have the wisdom of your previous life, because of the new body you're in, you don't have the ability to speak, or your eyes don't work properly for the first 6 weeks, whatever.
Your brain is tiny and smooth.
Yeah, there's all this other stuff, but you're also, the child can look through you in a way I can see.
Kids definitely seem like they're seeing something that the rest of us aren't.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Have you ever tried to move back to that, or do you think we move toward that as we age in a natural fashion? You don't need to work toward it, or?
I suppose that as you get older and things maybe degrade a little bit, you might work back towards that in some way, but I don't think you can ever re-achieve that without doing maybe serious damage to your brain.
Yeah. Have you ever had, unrelated but kind of related, have you ever had a near-death experience?
No. I'm a very safe person.
What do you think happens when we die?
Nothing.
Nothing? Just, that's it?
That's it.
Have you heard anything about the studies about the difference in the weight of a human body before and after?
Yeah, there's supposedly they can measure the weight of the soul, quote unquote, when a person dies. Yeah, I've heard that.
What do you think about that?
It's got to be something else.
Got to be something.
Yeah. Energy, something maybe.
Yeah. What is there to be said about?
Is that the same thing?
Well, yeah. What is to be said about energy? It can't be.
Because the concept that something of you, be it energy, we'll call it energy, or a soul, can leave and go back into the universe and then goes into a cloud and becomes rain and a plant grows. Sure, I can get behind that, but there is no consciousness to that. So what are we? Our bodies are committed to the ground or the air or whatever, depending, and that becomes food for plants or worms or whatever, and that's all well and good, but that's not you. That's just this meat suit that you live in, like that consciousness is, you die, that's gone, it's over.
Yeah, you were the second guest to refer to it as a meat suit, and you're not wrong. It's correct that I'm of the belief that the spirit or the soul, consciousness, connection, love, whatever that thing is, I think that lives on because, and I say that not based on any facts and not based on that study about the differences in weight, but because of a feeling I have. Like at times I feel the presence of people who have passed, and in a different kind of way than a memory.
Do you think that that's just maybe a latent memory that you're not really sure that I think that our brain functions on a level that is so far beyond our ability to understand what our brain is. Think about this. If you ever had a problem that you can't solve, and then you
Math?
Sure. Just something
Solutions
like that.
are numbers, though. I found the solution. It's just a combination of numbers, so it's in there.
Right, but what I'm getting at is you're trying to solve this, whatever this problem is. You can't figure it out, so you just give up and you go, like, I gotta go. Maybe it's a problem at work. It's 5:00. I'm out of here. And then you wake up the next morning and you just know the answer.
Yeah.
Because your brain is still working on things that you're not aware of. You're not sitting there thinking about it, but your brain is still working on it. And I think that I think your brain feeds you these little things all the time, or maybe you get this little snippet because your brain is remembering 10 million things at once. You're only conscious of some of them, but all of a sudden this little latent memory of Aunt Judy pops in there, and then you see a butterfly and it reminds you of her, and then you go, oh, it's a higher power telling me to, oh my God, it's her birthday tomorrow.
Welcome back to Your Funeral Music, where we're listening to the jams you won't get to hear. Our guest of the week is Sean M. This next song, Lazarus, it comes from British progressive rock band Porcupine Tree. They released their song in March 2005 in Poland and Germany. Those two places, very special places, I guess, for this band. And the song, it reached number 91 on the German singles top 100. How did you hear this song? Were you in Germany or Poland, Sean?
I was.
Oh, sorry. Oh, man, swing and a miss.
Whew. I was not.
You were not in Germany.
I am laughing because I'm just looking at this and I'm realizing that the first 4 songs are all British artists.
I was wondering if that was...
And it's not the last one that's going to be British either.
No.
Apparently I was born on the wrong continent, because I would have been in the old US of A when this came out.
It's funny that you're seeing this, when you're taking a little
I
higher
know that
level.
I know that I do favor a lot of UK bands. I always
Why is that?
have. I don't know. They're just better than us.
Is it better than us? Did they invent this music?
Well, in the Pink Floyd certainly invented what they're doing. I don't know that anyone before or after them has really kind of been, there hasn't been another one of those. When you look at some of these colossal bands, though, I mean, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Oasis, the Beatles, like there are, who are the American bands that are as big as that?
Glenn Miller.
I love Glenn Miller. We could have put some get a little Begin the Begin on here. We could have done In the Mood.
Pennsylvania 65000. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, certainly.
After
this, you want to do a podcast that's just about the war years?
Yeah.
Glenn Miller.
But we can't play any Benny Goodman.
Deal.
Thank you.
No one wants to hear a clarinet.
No, absolutely not. Just get a saxophone like a real person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you weren't in Poland.
I was not.
How did you discover this band?
I played in a band in this era. I think we might have talked about this with Spiritualized as well, but I played in a band at this era, and the drummer, as all good drummers are, was obsessed with progressive rock. And so this was a band that he was a big fan of. So he had showed me the album before this one, because we were playing together when this came out. So this was the first album of theirs that came out that I got when it was brand new. And just there's about a run of 2 or 3 records there in the early 2000s that these guys put out that are cover to cover great albums.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think they're not more widely known?
Well, they are in Europe.
Okay.
They don't tour a lot over here, and I don't know if that's because if they're not known because they don't tour here, or if they don't tour here because they're not popular here. I'm not really sure which comes first. But progressive rock fans know who Porcupine Tree is. Steven Wilson is the songwriter. He's very well known in certain circles. But they never quite made the breakthrough over here, and I don't. Not a lot of prog bands do, right? It's not good radio music. Although this song would be fine on the radio, it's maybe not a fair representation of everything that they do. You listen to their records, you're going to hear a lot more heavy guitars. You're going to hear a lot more odd time signatures. You're going to hear a lot more kind of ambient sections and things. This particular song is a bit more approachable, I guess. It doesn't really have that kind of progressive element. I believe it's just in 4/4. It's a lovely piano kind of driving riff through the whole thing. It's very clear vocals, which is not always the case. These guys will yell at you a little bit too when you listen to some of their other stuff. But to hear just this song, yeah, I mean this could easily have been a radio hit.
But why is it on your list? Why is this the third song we're hearing tonight?
It very much reminds me of a time kind of in those early 2000s, and maybe even a group of people who I'm still great friends with, but I don't see all that often anymore. People move away, get jobs in other countries. This drummer works or has worked in the past for CERN. He's been in South America. He's a physicist now, and so you lose touch, but it doesn't make that time or the people of that time any less important. And I would like to think that maybe if this playlist was being played at some type of celebration of life, that some of those guys from that time would make it out and would be happy to hear that the song is on there, because it was a song that and a record that we would all listen to together all the time.
So this is just for them?
I think so, yeah.
Is there any kind of message that your wider family can take away?
No.
What about we've been having an ongoing discussion today about faith and religion. The program kind of
interestingly
teeters.
This one has the sort
name.
of the name, but it other than the very last lyric of the song, it's not really mentioned again in the song. The song doesn't
need to be mentioned. I'm here,
Yeah.
So, for those who don't know, Lazarus, in that book of words, the Bible, there's a story of how there's this person who has died, Lazarus, and Jesus, is walking by. And basically it's like, I command you to come on out of this tomb. Do it, buddy. Show them that I'm truly a wizard,
He just does a little
healer,
two-step shuffle out of his tomb.
And... Yeah, Lazarus scoots on, boogies on out, as the story goes, totally alive.
Interestingly, I'm just kind of realizing now, I know that Bible story now, but even growing up going to church, I don't know that was a story that I heard in church, but I learned the term from DC Comics because they had something called the Lazarus Pit in Batman, which was used to bring Robin back to life.
Come on, Lazarus. It's time for you to go. That was Lazarus from Porcupine Tree. Welcome back to Your Funeral Music. Our guest this week is Sean M. Of the three previous artists we've all heard tonight, all are English groups. Sean, you mentioned that. Now, our next artist, Frank Turner, he is no different. Polaroid Picture was originally featured on Turner's fifth studio album in 2013's Tape Deck Heart. What is it about Frank's work that inspired you to add this to your playlist? I know you're big fans.
Yeah, I am. I've seen him live probably a dozen times at least. My bandmate and I cover 10 to 15 of his songs, including this one. This is, I think, the only song that made the list that I play live and will play live today, probably.
Do you have a favorite song to play of Frank's?
The one that we play the most is a song called "The Way I Tend to Be." It is possibly my favorite to play because we took like a mandolin part and reworked it for guitar, which is super fun, but also because we have turned it into a little medley in which we drop a verse and a chorus of a Taylor Swift song and an Amy Winehouse song when we play it. So it becomes this sort of back and forth where the beginning, the middle, and the end are all that Frank Turner song, but then we drop in these little bits of other things, and it's fun to play.
Is this what the artists call sampling?
Kind of. It's more of
redub.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Remix. It's more of a we like to do it. We play at some of these places where it's a bar and a restaurant and people are enjoying that there's music, but they're maybe not paying that much attention. And then when all of a sudden in the middle of a song we're singing Blank Space, a different segment of people turn around to see what's going on than maybe we normally would reach. And it's just kind of fun we'll point at a table of 22-year-old college girls and we'll go, they're going to be the ones that are going to notice this time.
Are there any kind of songs like this in your playlist tonight that are kind of like a wink?
Oh yeah.
What are your winky songs?
So you just mean like a wink, like to someone in particular or to something in particular, or just sort of
well, if you got an answer to that.
So yeah, this one in particular, will become very obvious when you listen to the song. It's a song about like kind of old friends and losing touch, and just it as you grow up and people, I think you said you got married, had children, like it's not as easy to just sit down like we're doing right now. You have to schedule this now.
We did
weeks ago. And it's, versus maybe when you're 17, 18, 19 years old, you just sort of show up at a buddy's house and you sit around and talk about maybe not things as in depth as this, but that kind of goes away as you get older. Everyone's busy. They got to get the kids to soccer practice and they got to go to work and they got to, get home and mow the grass and all these things. So you kind of lose touch with people. And I think when I was thinking about like a funeral playlist and something, I thought that was important because for better or for worse, funerals are one of the times we all get together, aren't they? So, it's a bit poignant. It's a little bit of a wink there of like, I understand we all probably would have liked to hang out more, but life happens and I don't know, that's okay. We're all busy.
This song is for the friends in your life you haven't seen in a long time?
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
And what are the other songs you said? There are some that maybe you have specifically for.
We haven't done the Weezer song yet is coming up, but that is very of a time that very much reminds me of the guys that I lived with in college because the Blue album and Pinkerton albums were just constantly being played in our house. There were 4 or 5 of us that were roommates for a few years there, and we listened to those records a lot. The Porcupine Tree song there is very specific to an era of a band I was in called The Rez, which we've mentioned a couple times, and those guys, because that was I don't know a lot of people who listen to Porcupine Tree, but everyone in that band did.
Yeah.
That's very specific to that time. I think there's a few of those things on here. Jerry and the Pacemakers is very specific to Liverpool fans. It's a very that is very much like for those friends. As beautiful of a song as that is, that's the nod, that's the wink.
Right. And these songs then, so this next song, Polaroid Picture, this is for your group of friends. This is it's very special. You don't often, well, I guess, so our generation, I think, is different in chatting with maybe my dad's generation, for instance. He still has, his friendships, his guy friends, that kind of thing, but he wouldn't have a song to them.
Sure.
I think it's really special that you have such a close relationship with these other men in your life who've impacted you. It's a beautiful thing, and it's nice to hear. It's refreshing.
Yeah. I think, it's worth telling your guy friends that they're important to you, right? I think that's maybe something that is getting better, but maybe there was this sort of masculine thing for a long time of like, no need to tell them, they know,
Right.
It's the guys. But I think it is important to tell your guy friends you love them.
Yeah.
They need to know that too.
I love you.
I love you too, Michael.
Welcome back to Your Funeral Music, where we're listening to the jams you won't get to hear. Our guest of the week is Sean M. Thank you for being here, Sean.
Happy to be here, Michael.
So our next song is going to put a smile, I think, on a lot of people's faces because it's coming from American rock band Weezer.
An American band, Michael, finally.
Welcome to America. That's, I guess, a little different song. But this is coming off of their 1994 self-titled debut album, Only in Dreams, is the band's longest song to date. It's noteworthy for its 3-minute crescendo of 2 guitars, bass, and drums, in which the dynamics
so good.
They increase, the timbre builds up layers until the climaxing guitar solo at the end. I feel like a teenager all over again.
It's a non-stop build. You might have the running time in front of you. It's like a 7.5 minute song or something, and it all builds that entire time. It's just such a slow burner. I love it.
It's 7 minutes and 59 seconds.
Oof.
We could round up, call it an even
call
8.
It 8, yeah. They earned that extra second.
Infinity symbol there on its side. So you're a musician, Sean. Is this on here because you like jamming? Why is this?
I had that song on cassette tape. I had, like that. That's one of those songs I've liked my entire life, and it's been a favorite song of mine since 1994 or whenever that Weezer album came out. So that one, definitely touches that. But I thought,
why? What about it? What about that song? Is it just the nostalgia of the song, or
it's a really, really well written song. So musically, the key that it's in, the note that the note that resolves the entire song is not played. It's like a 7.5 minute song, and the song does not resolve until the very last note. The whole thing is this constant rolling of not quite ever getting, and it just something about that stylistically really I liked it a lot. It pulls you through this entire song, and then it finally resolves at the end, and it's very just I love that.
In terms of what our topic for our program is, that's kind of what death is, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah. I don't know how
I feel shook. And so then is it you love both the combination of the tension and the resolution?
And then the resolution. Yeah, exactly.
Can't have one without the other.
That's exactly it. You can't have that beautiful resolution unless you've been brought through the the turmoil, I guess, of the previous 7 minutes and 57 seconds.
And is this then a metaphor for life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't truly appreciate the goods if everything's good all the time, right?
Right.
You have to go through something to really appreciate how good something is. But this song, it just, the way that it just constantly rolls to the next phrase, and like you can hear it right away at the beginning when you cue it up here, the way that phrase, that repeating kind of doom 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 just repeats, and it never quite resolves. It just rolls right into the next and into the next and into the next. Just builds, and then those guitar solos, like you mentioned, the layering of that just adds to it, and then all of a sudden just kind of this wash of resolution.
You're talking about the early phrases, right, that are not resolving. I think of grief kind of like that, where you have it, it's not resolved, it's
Totally.
And it's like you said, you have to go through it.
Totally. Yeah, and if you haven't experienced a loss, I'm sure we all, maybe you can remember the first grandparent or whatever, that you don't really know what to do with that. You're usually a child as well.
Well,
the first
and it
time
can
you
be any
experience
kind of
something.
loss.
Oh, totally.
Even the end of something normal, expected, like graduating,
Sure.
either high school or first grade.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe you
your
had a
first
really
haircut.
great time at camp, and now camp is over,
Yeah.
and you have to go back to.
And it's change. It's all
Yeah.
just change. It's hard. Do you contemplate your mortality regularly? No. So this thought process or thought exercise. This was a new.
Definitely.
How did it go? How?
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't have any, didn't stop me from sleeping that night or anything. I don't know. It's a thing. Turned 40 a year and a half ago now. So I mean, it's the kind of thing that starts creeping in a little more as things hurt more, and just you're more often reminded that your body is not immortal. But at 41 has been
That's been
a
tough.
bigger turn, and just in terms of, like, Jess and I walk a lot of places, for instance. I am a lot more tired after walks that I've made hundreds of times than I was 2 years ago even.
This is so interesting to me. Like, I'm glad we're having this conversation because, one day, God willing, or whatever willing, I might be 40.
That would be great.
Or 41.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe 42.
Wouldn't be. Yeah, it's not out of
Hear
the question.
me out. 43.
Hey, don't go crazy.
45.
Whoa,
I'm
Sir.
practically 50.
Sir.
half a century old. Anything could happen, and you don't. To have these conversations isn't like necessarily a fun thing, but it's something that affects
Literally 100% of people who live to a certain age. Yeah.
So we're here talking about it.
It gives you a respect for there are a handful of these, like, athletes or that's what came to mind first, but even like someone who's just got a very manual job or something, and they do it into their 40s or into their 50s even, and you're just like, my God. I want to be able to enjoy it. I don't want to be 62 and unable to do any of the things. You work your whole life, and maybe you're lucky enough you get to retire, and then what? Your body's broken and you can't do any of the fun things you want to do anyway. One of the things that, when there's not a big news cycle going on, that seems to come up all the time is, like, why do we work like the way that we work? What is the American obsession with 40-hour work weeks, and you have to work from the time you're 18 till the time that you're 65, and then you're too old and broken to enjoy it anyway. Like, and the whole thing is you're supposed to travel now and whatever, go do these things, like, it's buy the concert tickets, whatever. That's always sort of the payoff of it. But I think people are talking about that a lot more, and maybe that's just because people my age are talking about that a lot more, and I hear it. Maybe they always have, but I'm certainly hearing that a lot more. Like, why do we, bust our humps for 40 years and then For what?
Welcome back to Your Funeral Music. Each week, we slow down to contemplate our mortality with a new guest, listening to the songs they want played at their funeral and the meaning behind the music. Our guest this week is Sean M. I'm your host, Michael Vensky. To learn more about our program, please visit us online, yourfuneralmusic.com. And our next song, it comes from another American musician. So good to hear some American musicians.
Back to back.
I know, it's a two for
the
one.
Only two on
This-
the list.
This next selection comes from Jolie Holland, who is a new voice on the program tonight with the song Amen off her 2004 album Escondita. How did you discover this artist, Sean?
I don't know who introduced me to her first. Possibly Jess. I know that she and I went and saw Jolie Holland live at the Varsity years and years ago. It was a fantastic show.
She has such a great voice.
Very unique kind of indie rock sort of folk voice. It's there's like a jazzy quality to it that I really, really like.
And why is this on your funeral music playlist?
It just kind of felt right. I made this playlist kind of almost stream of consciousness. Like once I got started and picked the first two songs that you played here, the rest of them just kind of started coming. I did edit a little bit. I ended up, I think, with like 12 or 13 and the first take, and then there were a few that were like, I waited a half an hour and looked again. I was like, no, those aren't right. This song just feels right. Yeah. It's I don't have a lot of insight into the lyric. I don't know anything really about the recording of it. I just love it, and it just kind of fits and seems like this is the place that it belongs.
Any fears about death?
No fears. No. It's not to quote the Dark Side of the Moon again, but we've all got to go sometime is something that is sort of set in the background of that record. But why be afraid of it, I guess? It's going to happen when it's going to happen. I'm going to do things I'm going to eat the salads and take the walks and stuff. I'm not trying to die tomorrow, but there's no point in a healthy fear, perhaps, right? To the type of fear that tells you not to jump off a bridge or do something, that you might have done when you were 15 because you have no healthy fear and no respect for life, but not a fear of like, it's coming, man. Like, I got to think about this all-consuming fear of death. Nah.
Yeah, there's no, it's not a doom. It's not something like you said, it's coming, it's approaching. It's
something that makes you make good decisions when you're crossing the street. That kind of fear of death, I think, is healthy, right?
We're moving closer to winding down our evening here at Your Funeral Music with a cut off 2013's Pedestrian Verse, the fourth studio album by the Scottish indie rock band.
Back to the UK.
That's right. And I don't blame you. I've never been, so I want to explore there as much as possible. This rock band from the UK, Frightened Rabbit. The album, it was partially inspired by a breakup and a death, can certainly be considered a form of breaking up with the living. So, Sean, our guest this week, please, this song, Nitrous Gas, next on the funeral playlist. Tell us about what it's doing here and who it's to. What does it mean to you?
So this song is kind of just about like pain and just, I think, mental suffering. It's a very heavy lyric, which a lot of Scott Hutchison's music is very heavy. He suffered with a lot of depression and difficult mental states, and he was very open about that in interviews and of course in his songwriting. Some of the other, I really wanted to put a Frightened Rabbit song on here because they are my favorite band that I've maybe discovered in the last 10 or 15 years. Like, a lot of the stuff we're listening to is stuff I've liked since I was a child, a teenager at least, but this is a band I've only really known about for the last 10 years or something.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love them, but some of his stuff is almost too depressing for a funeral, if you can believe that. Some of his lyrics,
As someone with depression, I believe it.
yeah, and so I did want to pick one which it when you hear it, you're gonna go, this is the less depressing of his work, but it kind of is. But the vibe of the song, I think, is also kind of right for the vibe that I've kind of tried to cultivate with this playlist. We had kind of some rock early up, and we kind of built up, but the last few songs here are a little bit more of this kind of mellower vibe. This song is just guitar and a voice, and it's very beautiful, and it just felt good. And I think any chance that I can get to make people listen to a little bit of Frightened Rabbit is a chance I have to take.
So this is like your last kind of I want to educate my friends and family.
Hasn't been shutting up about this band for the last however many years. Now you gotta one more time listen to Frightened Rabbit just for me.
I know that you're not an old man, but I can hear your old man voice. Like, I've been telling you for years.
The band is the best band.
As part of this process, have you given any thought to how you want to be remembered?
Not really. I don't I think of the way to phrase this. I guess I don't think much about that. I have always, like, even as like a teenager and everything, like, not really given as much thought to how other people see or think of me than I think a lot of people do. And I don't really know where that comes from, but it's just something that's never bothered me as much as it seems to bother a lot of people. So I don't really think about like legacy or anything, and just try to like do nice things because it feels good. And then at the end of the day, hopefully that amounts to some enough things that people remember those instead of whatever dumb thing I may have done at some point. And
Or said.
yeah, totally.
Or the things you've said. We remember Pepperidge Farm.
Yeah, I think if you just try to like be a kind person in general, I think the rest of it just takes care of itself. You don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about what other people are gonna think of, because hopefully I'm just doing things that people remember fondly anyway.
And where did you learn this?
Man, I don't know.
Was this in the church?
No.
Okay, so we can...
No, this would have been probably a little later in life, maybe.
What? Come on now. I'm thinking of your parents. I know your parents.
Sure.
I met your
They
parents.
are very nice. 100%. They're very, very nice people. And both of them, they're not the like grand gesture kind of people, but they're just generally
Lutherans.
very kind people. And they're the type of people that if you're walking and you see someone struggling to carry a box, like, they're gonna help.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff. Those little acts of kindness that I think really make a big difference without much personal cost to you. It's not a, what does it take to help somebody that's struggling with something for 20 seconds?
Do you think that, so we'll say it's not a church thing. We'll say it's not you were a raised thing. Do you think it's something that's just in you?
Yeah.
Like it's just kindness is a human quality.
Yeah. I think so. I mean,
Or an
and
animal.
you're probably right that it's got to come from how I was raised. I'm just it wasn't like we're not having lessons. This isn't
Right, well,
that kind of thing. It's just more of like, I'm sure that I just grew up seeing them do those kinds of things, and then just you're like, well, I like this. People smile when they do nice things for, like, you want to make people feel good, right? The artist Frightened Rabbit is on here, but one of his lyrics that I do think about quite a bit, it's actually it's from an anti-religion song, which is kind of funny, but the end of it, he just says, "While I'm alive, I'll make tiny changes to Earth." I do think about that like somewhat regularly, because that was his whole thing. You can make these little changes. Maybe you can't change the world. I can't change the world. The world's big. There's I don't have resources, but you can change somebody's world just by helping them out with whatever thing. Everybody needs a helping hand sometime, right? In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter, but the grand cosmos, full universe, whatever, it doesn't matter to me either, because it's just so big and vast, and I live there, but I don't this community that I live in is important because these are real to me. The cosmos is so big, and it's just not real to me. Does that make sense?
It does. Welcome back to Your Funeral Music. We're closing our night with a song off 1945's Rodgers and Hammerstein musical Carousel. Do you know what we're talking about? It's a pretty popular song. The song, in fact, it was made famous not by a carousel, but in 1963 by a local Liverpool musical group, Jerry and the Pacemakers, and then adopted this song. This song was adopted as the anthem, at the Liverpool Football Club, and it's sung by fans as an uplifting and hopeful song before and after each game. Good times to be hopeful, I might add.
Absolutely.
Sean, you are a fan of the Liverpool FC. Is this how you discovered the song, or is there more to the story?
No, I definitely knew the song before. I've seen Carousel.
I have not. I'm a
really?
theater
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
Never seen it.
You should.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Is it a musical? They're singing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not theater.
Yeah, if it's not your thing, then
No,
don't. But
I like plays.
I love musicals.
Dry.
Yeah.
I want it to be dry. No, none of this. And we're walking and we're singing. No, thanks.
Can we watch The Music Man together after this?
And that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool. Oh,
Yes.
come on.
Exactly.
This guy is a charlatan. He's trying to get you to donate to
love
the
it.
Clean
He's just
Water
a
Action
shyster.
Fund.
Yeah,
He's-
it's the
and he
best.
falls in love with a librarian named after
Oh,
my
she's
grandmother,
Very pretty.
Marion.
We're
We're talking about Jerry and the
That's not what we're
Pacemakers.
talking about at all.
I love how we've kind of been all over the place. It's fun.
Yeah.
You'll never walk alone. So this is you. Would you say you're a hopeful agnostic?
Yes, that is actually a very good way to put it.
As I've been listening to you, it's like, okay, yeah, I get the sense you're a hopeful agnostic, and
Yeah.
this, considering the some of the maybe spiritual or religious kind of overtones of the song, even though it is just as easily a secular song.
Yeah, well, it's all about interpretation, right?
Yeah.
And that's why the football club adopted the song, because they kind of, it's a Liverpool band, and it's a working class town, and it's a working class band, and it's very much the identity of the city of Liverpool is like we lift each other up, and it's us against the world. It's they have a saying, "Scouse before English," because Scouse is the what they
Is that
call
Welsh,
people
or?
from Liverpool. No, it's the Liverpudlians are
Oh.
called Scouse, and they sort of have that identity of, yes, we're English, but we're Scouse before we're English, and we take care of ourselves and our town and our people, because they've over the years felt hard done by the government, and felt that that money was maybe poured into London and Manchester areas, and they were sort of left to, like, well, shipping's not such a big deal anymore, so good luck up there. And
So, being that, we're in Duluth right now, this conversation is being recorded in Duluth, and
Yes.
shipping is a part of this here.
very similar type of vibe up here sometimes, that we feel that maybe the state of Minnesota is very quick to invest in the Twin Cities, and well, you guys will be fine up there with your tourism and your lake. You'll be all right, and just
But there's still things that need to be invested in.
100%.
Yeah. What about the scouse? You said scouse?
Scouse.
Scouse.
Yes.
Sorry.
Scousers.
Scousers. Do you kind of take that same principle to your own family?
Absolutely. I think that we were talking earlier about kind of little small acts of community or kindness. I think that is not only way easier to do than to make a huge worldwide change, but if you can look after the people around you, your community, your family, your friends, your neighbors, and just sort of help out the people around you, it's going to have a knock-on effect. And I think that making those little acts to help the people just near you is far more important than trying to make some kind of global change that is basically impossible for one person to do. Just take care of your community.
You'll Never Walk Alone. Is this just to close the night? Why did you pick that one?
It's a fantastic song, first and foremost. Beautiful melody. But I think it's a good ending as well, because it does. We're talking about the song a little bit earlier because you attempted to sing it.
I did foolishly.
It builds up into this just huge ending, and
it's really pretty.
Yeah, it's beautiful, right? And so it's like, if that's gonna be the one, there's not gonna be a dry eye in the house after that, right? Like that's the one that's gonna. What do you follow that with? That's why it's at the end. It had to be on the list because of all the things I said. It's amazing. It speaks to my life and my love of football and everything. But I don't know what you play after that. That has to be the ending.
I hadn't thought about that before. Like, there's nothing to play after. This has to be at the end, because nothing can come after this song.
Exactly. None of the other songs can put Weezer after that. Like that makes Only in Dreams seem trivial.
Yeah.
kind of, and it's so, yeah, I think that just has to be the ending.
Has this process shaped you or changed you in any way?
Well, definitely thinking about just life and death a little bit more. A friend of mine just had a big loss in his family as well, so it's hard to say if it was specifically this or if that would have been a catalyst anyway to think about these kind of things. But definitely is something that it is more on the mind, not in a negative way, but just in a maybe appreciative way. Just appreciate life a little bit.
In terms of a closing message, either about your life or a message to our listeners, is there anything that you want to share with them that has either helped you in through dark times or lifted you up? Is there anything you want to share with our listeners as we close our program tonight?
It's kind of going right back to what we we're just talking about it. I think it's that think small thing, like, because you can't change everything, but you can, change these little things. And if things are terrible, like, it doesn't, if you try to think of, okay, like, I'm having an awful time, everything is terrible right now, you can't change all of it. Let's focus on something small that you can, and let's fix that, and then the rest of it kind of takes care of itself, right? So if you're having just, like, say you're very depressed, and for whatever reason there's all these horrible things, feels like everything's coming against you, you can't change all of it, but maybe I can, like, get up, take a shower, very small thing, but like, I feel a little bit better now. Now I'm gonna have a bowl of cereal.
Yeah.
Very small thing, but it's a huge victory, right? I think that's the takeaway. Just focus on those little things, and eventually all of a sudden you string 4 or 5 little things together, and it's not so insignificant.
Anything else that you wanna leave the community with, or your friends and family who happen to be listening now or in the future?
You better play this playlist in order. I put a lot of thought into it.
It does matter.
It does.
The order of how things happen matters.
It does.
And we'll have this whole list online. You can view it on Spotify, or you can go to yourfuneralmusic.com and check it out. So aside from make sure that you play the list in order, Sean, any other messages of hope for the future?
Yeah, I don't know. When Matt and I play our shows, we end every set with the same song. The song's called "Be More Kind." So I guess that would be my phrase to say to you now. Just try to be a little more kind.
How are the lyrics? What are they? Is it an easy song to learn? Could you teach it to me now?
I could not teach you the whole thing, but
it's a long song.
It's got verses and a chorus.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, it's like
Why
a
is
whole.
kindness so complicated?
The guy wrote the whole thing. But the repeated part at the beginning and the end is in a world that has decided that it's going to lose its mind. Be more kind, my friends. Try to be more kind.
In a world that's
in a world that has decided.
Okay. In a world that, how does it go? Will you sing it?
In a world that has decided that it's going to lose its mind. Be more kind, my friends. Try to be more kind.
In a world that has decided
that it's going to lose its mind.
Be more kind.
Try to be more kind.
That's fun.
Yeah, and our whole thing is just if everyone was 1% nicer to each other, like, think about what a difference that would make.
An exponential difference for sure.
Absolutely.
Special thanks to our guest this week, Sean M. To learn more about his band, visit trashcatsduluth.com. To be a guest on Your Funeral Music, or to learn more about the program, please visit us online at yourfuneralmusic.com. Join us next week when we'll have a new guest and a new playlist reflecting on what it means to be alive and how we want to be remembered after we're gone.